Oh, what's going on again? I'm back. So just something that I need to talk about. I've gotten, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 messages from different people that, so there's this mechanic. Well, I don't know if it's the same guy. It's probably not the same guy, but I guess he's a nomadic mechanic. I don't know. Um, but apparently he's been getting old, like a fat rat. Um, where do I begin? Please know what you are getting done to your vehicle before you get it done. If if you need a tune-up consists of plugs, wires, normally a coil, control module, depending on what kind of vehicle you got. I mean, these are things that I'm not saying that you should know, but you should do your research because $350 for a tune-up on a 350 Chevy is ridiculous. Okay? It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. That is I can walk you through it. Okay? It's that simple. My son can do a tune-up. He's 8 years old. Okay? Um please, 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 please do your research. And another thing you want to do is get your old parts back. Whenever you get something done, get your old parts back. Now, I know you're saying, well, why would I want my old parts back? It's trash. You want your old parts back because that way they can't say that you didn't, that they weren't changed. Always get your old parts back and make sure you look at your old parts to compare them to the new parts to make sure that they're the same parts that come off and it was supposed to go on in the first place. Because somebody is getting over big time. And I don't know if it's the same person. I don't know who it is for sure, but some things are just a little ridiculous. And, and that leads me into something else. My first car. The reason that I won't let nobody touch my stuff, I'm sick right now. As much as I need the help, I won't let nobody touch my stuff. Why? Because my first car was an 83 Cutlass. And it had an engine problem, which I'm still not sure what the what the problem is to this day. Still don't know what the problem was, but it was running when I drove it to the shop. When it got to the shop, they called me about, I don't know, 2 days later and said it's going to be $900. You can come pick the car up, but it's not running right. And now it was running right somewhat when I took it to the shop. It just had a really bad hesitation. It probably needed the timing belt changed. Actually, I can go ahead and say, yeah, it needed the timing belt. So, the V6 Oldsmobile back then, it was a crappy engine. It was 3.8. It was the ones that came after were good. They had timing chains in them, and it was a great motor after that. But before that, it was crap, and they would knock, and all kind of stuff would happen. But you need to change the timing belt. So my grandfather, he never changed the timing belt. He would ride and ride and ride and say, oh yeah, it ain't timing belt. Yeah, I can't go that far, but it ain't timing belt. So when I started driving, I was 15, 16, and the car needed timing belt. Well, I got a lead foot. So the car somewhat jumped timing, just a hair. It just slipped time. Yeah, it ain't even jump timing, it slipped. And it was running enough for me to take it in there. It wasn't knocking. It wasn't, it was missing a little bit, but it wasn't beyond, I could drive it. So we took it to the shop. They told us, well, the timing belt needs to be changed, but everything needs to be done. And they was talking about, oh, it's got a bad cam. It's got bad oil pump. It's just bad. Everything is just bad. Now, I knew a little something. I didn't know as much as I know now. I knew enough to know that the car didn't need that much stuff. It just needed a timing belt. And I didn't know how to go about putting one in at the time because to me it looked complicated as hell. And it probably was because I've never done one on that 3.8 and I don't think I want to do one. But I could if I had to, but just remembering back on that, yeah. But anyway, so now this was around 1999, yeah, about 98, 99. And at the time, $900 was a lot of damn money to pay to put a timing belt on. Especially a GM 3.8. It's not like it's rocket science. You don't have to have no special degree to do it, and so they put the timing belt on and they screwed the engine up major. When we went to go pick that car up, I couldn't drive it. It had to be towed. It was 50 times worse than what. Oh my Lord. There's so many things that I could say about that. I mean, there's some things I can't say on YouTube, boy, but I cussed them out in my mind to this day. $900 we had to pay to get that car back, and it wasn't even hardly running right. Now, my grandfather he wasn't a pushover, but he just wanted to get it over and done with. And they got over. There's no question. They got over. And they tried to talk him into junking the car. Back then, there used to be a lot of drag racing going on around here. And it was a G-body, which is what they call a G-body. And at the time, that was the car to have to go drag racing with. And, they built engines and things, so there was no excuse. So they tried to con him into junking the car. Well, I wasn't going to let that happen. That was not happening. I had an attachment to that car, which I'll talk about in a different video, but that car, no. So I didn't let that happen, and we had to pay $900 to get the car back. $900. And it never ran right again. Never ran right again. I took it to a different shop, and they charged us $400, I think it was, to redo something. I don't remember what now. It's just years ago. But they charged us. I thought that was my mother. So they charged us $400 to do something to it to make it run smooth again, and it never ran right again. Long story short, about a month later, that engine blew up. That engine had enough. My grandfather abused it. I have a lead foot, so I was flying, and yeah, the engine said, I'm done with y'all people. You got these crazy people working on me and charging all kind of crazy money for all that. Honestly, I could have probably bought an engine brand new and put it in there, especially at the time. I think there was like $1,000 at AutoZone at the time. At the time we had Track Auto, right? That was way back. Some of y'all don't even know about that, but yeah, we probably could have got a whole engine and stuck in that car. And so after that, I never let nobody touch my car again, ever. In fact, when the motor blew up in that car, it sat for 2 years because I wasn't gonna let it go, and I wasn't gonna let nobody touch it. And I didn't care if I didn't drive. That car and me were attached at the hip. You didn't see me without that car. And eventually I went to the auction and I bought another Cutlass that had a transmission problem. And I pulled the engine out of that one. When the transmission completely, when I pulled the engine, actually I stripped the whole car. I still have parts of that car. But I pulled the engine. It had a 307, it had a V8 in it. Pulled the engine in and put it in to my car, into the black car, into my first car. And I drove that car for another 3 or 4 years until it got stolen. Which is part of the reason I go through the cars that I go through like I do, because I'm afraid to get attached because something might happen to it. But that's a whole nother story when I tell the story about that car. But I'm just saying that to say, make sure that when you get something worked on, that you know what you're getting worked on, and that you get all of your old parts back, match them up with the new parts, or at least have a picture of what the new part looks like before it goes in there. That way they can't screw you too bad. Now the labor, you need to know what the price of labor is up front. You need to know how long it takes to do the job. You can normally, right on. You can normally look that stuff up online, to see how long it takes to do the job. And if they try to tell you that it takes 5 hours to do a job that only takes an hour, then they're getting over big time. And if the going rate is more than $100 an hour, they better be good, really good, really, really good. Because there's a lot of people out here, just because you got that little ASC patch does not make you a mechanic. That just means that you have a patch. There's a lot of people out here that think because they have that patch that they're doing something. I'll tell you a story about that too, since we're telling stories today. Me and my cousin went to college. I went to college for psychology and to get my ASC. He went to college to get his ASC. He went to UDC. So I never finished. I'm not a school person. I don't like school. I think we won't get into what I think, but major ripoff. But so he graduated and he got his ASC, and I didn't. Which ASC is a certification to say that you know your stuff. Now Mo didn't know how to diagnose a car. Now he would come to me and I would have to tell him what's wrong with it for him to fix it. Because they don't teach you everything. They try, some people pick it up, some people get it, but you have to be able to get it, and I don't know, maybe some schools are different, but the way that we learn, the way that we were supposed to be taught, I was teaching the class. And I ain't lying. First day of school, they had a table full of parts, and they were asking people what the parts were. So some people were getting them right. Some people were getting some of them right. Some people were getting one or two of them right. Some people weren't getting any of them right. Well, they got around to Mo. Now, Mo had experience working on cars with me. We've been working on cars forever. I mean, since I can remember. And Mo, he come around about the time he was about 12, 10 or 11. That's when we started hanging out. And we had been working on stuff ever since. And so they got around to Mo. Mo started naming stuff on the table. Now, once again, I'm introverted as hell. So Mo goes and says, I can tell you what some of the parts are on this table. But if you really want to know what the parts are, you need to ask that one right there. Because he can tell you all of what's on the table. And at this point, I'm just like, why? Why did you do that? I'm just trying to stay cool in the back of the class, mind my business, do what I need to do to get out of there. And he put me on the spot. So I did what I do best. I showed off. And he said, the teacher said, well, is that true? I said, it might be. He said, well, what's on the table? Not only did I name the parts on the table, I named what they came off of, where they came from, what years they came from, and what to do. And before I could get through the whole thing, the teacher was like, no, stop. Just don't even, just stop. Just, because, no. You're not allowed to say nothing. Because at the point, I hate to say it, but I might have knew a little bit more than the teacher. I don't know if I should tell that story or not. I don't know if I have enough time on my phone, but that's an interesting story in itself. We tried to pull an engine out of a Volkswagen and nobody could get it out except for me. Tried to pull the heads off a Cadillac Eldorado. I had to step in. So, yeah. Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but that's how it really happened. That's how it went down. I wish Mo was alive to tell that story, because he tells it a lot better than I tell it. Well, he used to. But I say all of that to say, please know what you're getting into before you get into it, because a lot of the time people will rip you off. They'll see you coming and they'll just tell you whatever just to get the money out your pocket. And when you leave, you'll still have the same problem you had when you first got there, or it might be worse, especially if you get somebody that don't know what they're doing. So anyway, I guess I've rambled on enough. I think I'm going to try to leave KFC now and I guess go back into hiding. Probably go wash the van or something. Maybe put some wax on it. But yeah, please know what you're getting into before you get into it. Otherwise, somebody's going to come along and rip you off. It's just that simple. And if you don't know what you're getting into, okay, my email is right down here. It's right there. I might not answer you right away because I might be asleep or trying to hide from people. But believe me, I'm going to answer you eventually. And you can ask me and I will try to walk you through it, or I'll try to at least tell you what you need to know. And if I don't know, then I'll ask somebody who does. And believe me, I know somebody who does. So don't hesitate, because I'd rather somebody come to me and be like, hey, this is what's going on, can you help me, than for you to go out and pay a ridiculous amount of money to somebody who's just going to rip you off. So, just a thought and stuff. Two heads are always better than one, but just a thought. And if you want to donate, you can, because every penny helps. But you're not necessary, because you're here. That's good enough for me. I'm happy with that. The fact that you're here. 1,400 of you find me interesting. That's another thing I wanted to touch on, but I might have to wait for another video. 1,400 people. I have 1,400 subscribers. First off, I want to thank the subscribers and the people who donate and the people who don't donate. I want to thank you for being here at all, because never in my life did I think that 1,400 people would find me interesting at all. At all, and that ain't no lie. So I appreciate it. I appreciate everything. All of y'all, I appreciate it. I can't say enough about that. There's not enough to be said about that. It really ain't. I don't, speechless, and that's not that's not often for me. So yeah, thanks for donating, thanks for subscribing, thanks for looking at my videos, thanks for finding me interesting, thanks for hitting me up just to talk, because sometimes I just need that, and I'm sure some of y'all do too. Yeah, alright, I'm getting text messages from people now. That's interesting. I hope y'all can't see my text messages, boy, because I'm in a world of mess if y'all can't. Stop texting me. Okay, anyway, let me go. I will talk to y'all later. All information is down below as usual. And I'm on Facebook now, just so y'all know. I've been on there, I just don't know what the heck I'm doing. So it's Brother Tom's Misguided Adventures. I'll talk to y'all later.